Let's talk feet and straps, also known as leg circles and frog. Why do people love it? And how does it so easily turn into a hot mess? Let's get into it. So, on traditionally styled reformers, you actually have three settings for the leather and the handles. Um, this is what having double loops on ropes does to eliminate this need to transition the equipment. However, transitions are also choreographed exercises. So the standard setting, for your 100, anything with your hands is going to be what you see here. When we want to do short straps for a short spine, we send leather through the wood, drop the handle down. Now we've got your short loop. When you want to make a long strap for the leg circles and the frog and the feet and the straps, whatever you want to call it, you need extender straps. And they go through the handle and the leather, clips. Now you have a longer loop. If you've never worked on this equipment and you come across it in a studio safety note, you want the hardware of the outside of the strap facing the outside, because if it's facing the inside in the air, the clips could rub together and fall off. You think it's highly unlikely, don't you? I've seen it happen. It really happens. Okay. I'm on 2 red springs because, I feel like talking you through this. If this were my workout, I'd probably do it on 2 green springs. But that's me. You do you. Okay, so they're set, they're ready. I come on, dainty as can be, and I lie on down. So what we want is a nice connection up into the shoulder blocks, because as soon as we feel the moving of the springs in the carriage, we're thinking about how we stand in vertical up into the forces of gravity. The springs are just trying to pull us and the floor together, much like gravity. So we're going to take hold of these long straps. Again, double check the hardware of the strap. Feet come on up and in. Now, maintaining that connection to the shoulder blocks doesn't come from shoving the scapula up. It comes from a feeling of, if I were to press onto the floor, I would go up. If I were to press into the foot bar, I would go up. And considering that the spring is already engaged, I should be too. That is the first thing in terms of technique that people need to think about. Like, the exercise has started because the springs are already doing the thing. Now, in terms of where do I want this organization of core? Is it neutral? Is it belly button and spine? Is it an imprint? You know what? It's what the body needs in order for there to be a relationship of connectivity of lower trunk of pelvis up into upper trunk as thorax and upper back, going up through the shoulder blocks to the top of the spine. Some people might be coming to you kyphotic, and here's where they are. We still want to find how that opposition and engagement of the extensor system of the hips, meaning your backyard, right? How is that already standing into the spring, which is already trying to pull me into a compression? It's trying to let gravity win. So someone who's kyphotic might have a little bit of that imprint. Don't let them give into it. Find what they can in this opposition engagement and work. And their core position in terms of where their torso is might be different than the person next to them. For that matter, let's go the exact opposite. What if you've got someone who's in extreme sway back and got this extra lordosis, and when they lay down, here they are, right? And it's like, oh, now I can't talk to you because I'm all shut down in the throat space. Well, then we're going to ask for more of this low ab engagement. Scoop it up, bring it up so you can relate that lower trunk as core work up into upper trunk with as much strength in the tensegrity of your spine as a straight, heavy air quotes, line. Heavy air quotes, because what is straight? That's a lie. So is symmetry, by the way. Total lie. I digress. So here we are in frog, right? And why does it feel so good? It feels so good because the majority of people coming to you will find feet and straps as probably the only time in the day, if not their entire week, where they move the ball inside the socket of the hip joint in its full range of motion or full capacity of motion that that body has. Okay? Now, if what we see a lot is people initiate from their knees and negate the fact that their extensor system, see now I'm all hanging out, is not actually extending the flexor system. The spring is helping us into flexion. It wants to just fold us in half, okay? We want to be thinking, how do I maintain that connection up as I press the floor away to stand up, as I press the foot bar to go out, as I press into that flimsy little fabric of the loop, how am I still strong up too? That starts to recruit the backyard, even as I'm bending in. We're eccentrically lengthening, but eccentric is still a contraction. Letting go is letting go. So if I initiate from my knees, you're going to get that drop, pop, snap. You might get a little jerky feeling in the ropes in your leather, and you're going to see the spring almost kind of pop or bounce. See what I'm getting at? Whereas if I control it from, we are going to work from the back to stand up, and then we're going to maintain that opposition and resist giving into the compressive nature of this action here, wanting to snap us down. Now, this is just moving back and forth through the sagittal plane, going through flexion and extension of the hips, knees, and yes, some plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. There's a little movement down there, right? When we go into the circles, we're asking for transverse plane. We're trying to spin the ball in the socket. But what we're not trying to do is twerk all around town. And that's what we see a lot. So to do that, we need to be clear about ABs, abducting, extensors, extending, adds, adding, and our hip flexors having enough resistance from the eccentric backyard not to get snapped down into a compressive state in the spine, right? And that's where we need all of the stabilizing work of the core, neutralizing work going on through parts of the pelvis. And that's when it starts to become a real challenge. And it not only still feels good, but it's building technique for other exercises, right? Now, here's the reality. It doesn't matter if the form and the technique isn't perfect. It's going to feel good. Again, because most of the movers coming to you, that is going to be their fullest range of true motion inside the biomechanical definition of a hip socket or a ball and socket joint, okay? What we want to do is try and set them up with enough tools to work through the whole body. It is why in a lot of traditional schools of Pilates, leg circles and frog are taught on a stable surface, i.e. the trap table, the Cadillac, springboard, lying on the floor, using a TheraBand, anything that removes the element of the unstable moving carriage, because that is how you control the carriage, through your core work. And if you're working on trying to figure out the hip stuff too, it can be a lot for a fresh mover to try and figure out, and it becomes easily a hot mess for a teacher's eyes when watching a whole group of fresh movers trying to figure it out. Now, you may not have the option to move over to a table or a springboard to do leg circles and frog with simple leg springs. You should also be able to teach the same initiation skills and things like footwork on the chair, or even just giving them a TheraBand, a stretch band, or using a magic circle on the foot to really connect out to in the frog. There's lots of creative ways you can use to teach the musculature how to behave in order to initiate the work properly.